Welcome to Dynamic Living, the Total You in Focus. We are actually very much honored to have with us here Asek Christian Ablan. He works actually at the FOI office, no? So mga kababayan po natin, minsan may mga batas at may mga pagkakataon hindi natin ito maintindihan. So ngayong umagang ito po, tayo ay nagpapasalamat because we have a guest here who will be able to explain to us issues, concerns, and what this law is all about. So, magandang araw po sa iyo, Attorney Asek Chris. So, kayo po ay nandito sa Dynamic Living, the Total You. Ako po ay nagpapasalamat at kayo ay pumunta dito. We'd like to ask, sir, what is this FOI?
Good morning po, Doc. Thank you for having me at your show Dynamic Living here on Hope Channel. And freedom of information po, that's what FOI is. It is a mechanism, and it's also a constitutional right of Filipinos in asking information from their government. It is intertwined with our basic constitutional rights of suffrage and freedom of expression. Because kailangan natin may information bago tayo makapag-express ng ating sarili, di ba? Di naman pwedeng binubunot lang natin sa hangin. When we exercise our right to suffrage and we vote for our legislators, our leaders, dapat based siya on some kind of information. Did they do their work? Did they use government money or taxpayers' money properly? So, diyan naka-intertwine talaga ang access to information or freedom of information.
Pero heto, Chris, no? Meron na kasi tayong batas, no? Kung baga, do we need additional laws for us to be able to say na we can express freely what we think, what we believe in, and would be able to monitor whatever our various government officials are doing?
Yes, ma'am, kailangan pa rin po ng parang guiding policy for this because in our constitutional rights po, Bill of Rights po under Article 3, nakalagay lang po doon that every citizen has right to access to information. Hanggang doon lang po.
So
The guidelines...
wala siyang guidelines, wala siyang kumbaga heto explanation kung ano at papaano niya gagawin.
That's correct. Like the period, wala pong period nakalagay sa ating rights. So, you can actually go to a government office today, or not today, siguro 10 years ago, you could go to a government office, you can ask a question, baka abutin po kayo ng siyam-siyam before they answer. Sometimes it will take you 1 month, 6 months, 1 year, maybe they'll never return. So that's why kailangan pa rin ng guiding policy, in this case, Executive Order number 2 on freedom of information, para mag-guide yung mga agencies. Okay, this is what you do when somebody asks for information. You have to process it within 15 days, and then you have to respond. If you're going to approve it, you have to give the entire information. If you're going to deny it, you have to explain to the citizen why you are denying the request. So, kailangan pa rin po ng guiding...
Ibig sabihin, Chris, heto mas detalyado siya.
Opo.
Kasi talaga sinasaad niya kung ano at kung anong pwede, kung anong hindi pwede.
Opo.
At kung ano yung time frame. Pero matanong nga kita, if the law has been there, I know that the law has already been there, and it's just an expansion of that law. Why is it so important today for us to be able to have that? Kasi para namang 5, 10, 15 years ago, no, parang ang mga tao naman they're just content with what is happening around them, what the government officials are doing, what the government agencies are doing. So why now, out of the blue, mas mahalaga at kinakailangan natin siya?
Well, specifically in this generation po, it's very important to have access to information or freedom of information in the Philippine government, in our country, because of the proliferation po of fake news and disinformation. So many information is being spread on different social media platforms, and sometimes you don't already know what to believe. Sometimes even the people or the industry that we count on to report the news sometimes show their true color or their biases. That's why if information is going around, for example, as basic as, is there school tomorrow? And sometimes, sometimes po they share infographic or social media cards, which is what, 3-4 years ago, and people are sharing it, even professionals are sharing it, not knowing that this information is already expired na po. And so that's why they need freedom of information. If they feel that, oh wait, I'm not so sure about that number, I'm not so sure about that information, can I ask it directly from my government office? And that office has to disclose that information. That's why it's very relevant.
Pero Chris, tayo ba sa Pilipinas, if we're comparing ourselves with our sister countries, no, like sa ASEAN, no, o kaya naman sa ibang bansa talaga, do you think na heto sila, nasasakop din ito sa kanilang mga batas, yung FOI? Are we that late in terms of, you know, understanding and trying to see na kailangan ma-address natin because of this fake news, itong social media? Technology actually is, you know, right there at the forefront, and talaga namang maraming mga balita o mga information na minsan hindi karapat-dapat.
Yes. So, right now, we have more than 120 countries around the world that have an FOI policy in place. We are late in the game. The earliest is Sweden, which passed its FOI law way back in 1766. After that po, the US passed its FOI Act in 1966, and then a huge number of countries passed it between 1980s all the way up to 2010s. Huli na po tayo sa Philippines with President Duterte signing our executive order last 2016. So, we're late in the game. But the good thing about being late in the game, Doc, is you get to learn from the mistakes of others and you get to copy their best practices. And we're very proud po that we're able to implement FOI competently po in our country.
Yan. So, isa yan dapat na maintindihan ng ating mga tagapagpanood, no? Na hindi ito basta hinugot lang, kundi ito ay pinag-aralang mabuti. Now, let me ask you, why was it that there was so many resistance, or there was a resistance along the way prior to its full implementation?
The resistance stems from the policymakers' reluctance po to open up the doors of government, thinking that FOI can be used for harassment. Ang number one reaction po when we meet a governor, a vice governor, a mayor, a congressman, and we discuss FOI, they tell me, you know, ASEC, attorney, we don't like freedom of information because that will be used by my political opponent to harvest information about me, where I live, what my children do, where do they go to school, so what car do I drive. And then my answer to them is, Kong, Senator, there's no need for FOI for that. All they have to do is check your Facebook page and they'll find out that. FOI is actually to get documents, statistics, data sets, and other information that can be useful to our kababayans.
So, pag sinabi natin useful, ano po yung mga data na po pwede nating i-release sa ating mga kababayan? And by the way, before you answer that, who can actually make a request? Can an ordinary vendor walking there in the streets who has this, you know, thoughts na, heto, gusto kong malaman ito because I want to learn and expand my views on what the office of say, for example, the DSWD is doing, o kaya naman the agency on the anti-corruption bill or things like that. Who can access and make a request?
That is the great thing about EO number 2, Doc, because it levels the playing field. Before you can get information from government, you have to know someone. You have to be high-ranking. But because of the FOI policy po, our EO on FOI, any Filipino citizen, regardless of status, gender, rank, can request for information, and the government agency has to answer within 15 working days. So even 15, from the vendor,
15 working days.
Apa.
Ibig sabihin, pagka hindi sila nakatanggap ng reply sa kanilang request, ano po ang pwedeng next step na gagawin nila?
The FOI officer responsible for the processing the request may be held liable po. For the first offense, marereprimand po siya. That's a warning. Second offense, that officer will be suspended. And third offense, that officer will be dismissed from the service. So, meron pong punishment yan if they don't comply with the policy.
Where can they go? I mean, where can we go and request for information, ASEC? Where can we go? Can we go to which place? And are there various offices that will handle this per region? And are these offices known to the citizens?
All right. So all government offices under the executive branch are covered by the policy. We're talking about the 190 national government agencies, each attached agencies and bureaus, the 110 state universities and colleges, the 109 government-owned or controlled corporations, and the more than 500 local water districts. Any Filipino citizen can go to any government office, be it the provincial office, district office, regional office, and lodge an FOI request. They have to just fill up a form, which they have to describe what information they're requesting and the period of what their information that they're requesting, and then they'll just have to wait for 15 working days. Also po, dagdag ko lang po, we have tried to close the barrier po because we are a archipelagic country.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to go to Manila, Imperial Manila, to ask for information. We've opened a website called the eFOI portal. It's www.foi.gov.ph. And Filipino citizens in Cagayan de Oro, in Davao, in Cebu don't need to go to Manila to ask for information. They can just type in foi.gov.ph, search for the government agency that they'd like to lodge their request, and wait for 15 working days.
Wow, that's amazing, no? See what technology can also bring us.
Yes.
We'll take a very short break, Asek, no? And when we return, we'll continue on discussing what kind of documents are covered by this FOI law. So please stay tuned to Hope Channel. We'll be right back.
Salamat sa pagatiman sa ako lang ha. Miss. Thank you. Ayaw, kabala ka na. Ang importante, magpaayo lang ka.
Welcome back to Dynamic Living the Total You in Focus with our episode FYI on the Freedom of Information Mechanism with ASEC Attorney Christian Ablan. So, sir, pag-usapan po natin. Ang ganda po ng discussion natin kanina. Ngayon po, ang gusto kong malaman what kind of records can be requested for? Will it mean hetong kanilang mga minutes of the meeting, transcripts, or even contracts? Yun yung gusto kong malaman, hetong mga kontrata that our government agencies or our officials enter into. Can we also request a copy of that?
Yes. So, Doc, the general rule is any information considered public or official record that's with a government agency when requested by a Filipino citizen must be disclosed. Again, any information considered public or official record when requested must be disclosed, which includes contracts and datasets. In fact, we have one success story po of a DLSU student here requesting for the contract between LRTA and LRMC. LRTA is the government office overseeing the operations po of all our light rail systems. And LRMC is the private corporation. And this student, kasi he commutes using the LRT Line 1, wanted to find out, can I see? Are you going to show me the contract of LRMC and LRTA? And the Department of Transportation disclosed the contract. So that's how you use FOI. You can actually ask for contracts, datasets, and other legal documents.
For example, me as a medical doctor, I would want to know what a particular hospital that is a government-run hospital, like for example, a medical center, all right, in a particular region. I would want to know because I'm interested on how our chief of hospitals did the contracts between particular suppliers. Can I also access that one?
you can request for government contracts po entered into by the Department of Health. But another example po of a successful FOI request lodged with the Department of Health was a research student who was researching on classification of hospitals into trauma centers. So she requested for information from the Department of Health. What is your criteria for declaring a hospital as a trauma center? And the DOH disclosed that information. So it really varies po, not just contracts, data sets, a lot of information. You want to find out what are the HIV statistics po in the country divided according to region, you can get that po from DOH.
Okay. So heto naman po, are there exemptions to this list? Like, for example, we've been talking about anything that is a public document, anything that will contain information that can be of interest to me as a citizen of the country. I can request for that. But are there exemptions to this? Or would we say na, heto when I request for this, hindi po pwede because it will entail, it might, create problems later?
Opo. Yes, there are exceptions po, Doc. Every country implementing FOI, they have FOI exceptions kasi may mga information na hinahawakan po ang government na hindi talaga pwedeng ma-disclose.
Na medyo maselan at eto na kung maselan yung mga data na yan, di ba? O kaya naman it will endanger the health of our people or kaya naman mga issues and concerns that para maintindihan din ng mga tagapagpanood because they might think, sometimes we believe na and we think na heto kailangan pwede i-release sa akin. So ano-ano po itong mga exemptions?
That is correct po, ma'am, kasi baka mamaya isipin ng lahat na may FOI pala, I'll ask everything under the sun. Hindi po. For example, yung sample ko po tungkol sa HIV statistics, you can request for statistics, but you cannot request for the names or the list of patients with HIV because that will put their lives in danger. Baka ma-ostracize po sila sa kanilang community, so hindi pwede. FOI respects po data privacy. It respects the law. So we try to harmonize both laws by saying you can request for lists of statistics but you cannot request for names and their addresses and their contact details kasi nga there is a line between data privacy and freedom of information. May hangganan po.
Yun yung gusto kong maibahagi sa mga tagapagpanood. Itong Data Privacy Act. Kasi minsan, our government officials maybe or an agency may hide behind that Data Privacy Act.
Yes.
So for them to say na I am not going to release this to you because it will also violate the rights of an individual. So how are we going to marry or merge them so that we will be able to come up with a cohesive action plan for a request?
You have a keen observation po. Government agencies, when they rolled out po FOI and data privacy, used data privacy a lot of times when they did not disclose. Fortunately, we have an office po under the Presidential Communications Operations Office headed by Secretary Martin Andanar, which he designated me as its director po, the Freedom of Information Program Management Office that oversees all of these government agencies, and we tell them that hey, you withheld this information and you said it's data privacy, but it's not data privacy. We had one example po. Somebody requested for the statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth of the cabinet. The Malacanang Records Office, hindi pa malinaw sa kanila yung data privacy. When they disclosed the SALN, they redacted almost everything in the SALN and we had to tell the MRO, wait, the data privacy only concerns the sensitive personal information. Which are these? The signature, the government-issued ID under the signature, and the address, and the names, and the age, and the birth dates of the children. Everything else is for public consumption. So, andito naman po kami to try to level between data privacy and FOI.
So, your office po, ASEC, so you have an office, and that is based here in Metro Manila.
Yes
po
po.
ba? So, if any individual or citizen will find that the denial of a request for that person, the person believes na hindi tama at makatarungan, they can actually immediately proceed and submit an appeal or a question or a query to your office.
The formal appeal, Doc, has to be done with the agency which denied their FOI request. But they can they can ask us a query or a question on our Facebook page po, FYI Philippines, or they can send us po an email. Pero the formal appeal process goes to, for example, nag-deny po, you requested for information about chief of hospital and their contracts in regional hospitals there, and dineny po siya, you can appeal it to the Secretary of Health, and then the Secretary of Health will either affirm po the decision of the chief of hospital or overturn it and order the disclosure of such information. And then after that, kung denied pa rin, the citizen can go all the way up to the office of the president. Doon na po papasok ang FYI-PMO.
Okay. So, heto po ba, lahat po ba ng government agencies so far, after this FOI was already rolled out, have they been compliant?
Yes, we're very happy that 100% of the national government agencies or 190 NGAs are compliant with the FOI program. We're 90% for GOCCs and SUCs, and we're 50% po for local water districts. Kasi medyo malayo pa yung mga local water districts But we're very happy po with the compliance of our government offices.
Kasi hetong water district, hetong problema sa tubig. Minsan, di ba? At saka yung mga presyo na kanilang, they roll out the prices, the increases and everything.
Yes.
And so an ordinary citizen would be interested really to know what went wrong or how are they going to plan and map it out, no?
Yes.
So this one is really good. Now, ASEC, yung pong sa inyong office, no? Heto po ba ay may mga divisions? I know that there are divisions there. One for monitoring, no?
Yes.
And control.
Yes.
So who handles that one and who can access that area?
Yes. So our office, we have 4 units po. We have the policy and planning. So policy and planning division, which we roll out guidelines po. So we recently rolled out a guideline on redacting kasi nga umaabuso yung mga government offices. Second, we have a compliance and monitoring division, making sure that the agencies are complying with the executive order.
If they do not comply, ASEC, what will happen to that agency?
Okay, we have adopted a strategy of incentives. Kasi yung iba punishment yung kanilang strategy. Our strategy po is incentives. We've tied FOI compliance with the performance-based bonus or PBB. That means if you do not comply with FOI regulations, then they may not receive their bonus for this year. And it works po, Doc. So a lot of them are really complying because they all want to get their bonus.
Siyempre, pag economics ang pinag-uusapan, ganun talaga. So, heto naman siya, ASEC, that is very good for the government agencies. But have we in the government sector also thought about the private part? Like the private corporations, private institutions, paano naman sila?
Unfortunately po, private institutions are not covered by FOI. Even in other countries, FOI only applies to the government because it stems from taxpayers' money. The reason why we have this right to information is because the resources that we used in collecting that information comes from taxpayers' money. As a private corporation po, wala naman pong link. But meron po tayong gray area there.
Yes.
When private corporations use government money, then you can actually ask...
government, what do you call this? Government resources.
Yes.
Kasi minsan there's a marriage between a government and a private corporation.
Yes.
In the sharing of resources.
Yes.
So that one that can also be subjected to this FOI.
We're not yet there po. Right now we are still strictly on government information held by government offices. So, but I do recognize po that there is a gray area that needs to be addressed. We will be addressing that sometime soon.
Okay. I hope that will also be included, no? Kasi maraming beses na alam natin there's a sharing of resources. And sometimes the government agency will hide already under the fact that this is a private corporation that's running it. And we want a transparency on that. And matanong kita, ASEC, hetong ating FOI, ano pinaka-bottom line objective nito?
The objective is to build trust between government and the people. Because we've grown up po in many years in a culture of secrecy in government. And that way, nagkakaroon po tayo ng mistrust. And when there's mistrust, we add to the layers of bureaucracy. So many signatures ang kailangan, so many mga requirements, and everything is slowed down. When we rebuild the trust between citizen and government, everything will work out faster. By having FOI opening our doors, government is being vulnerable to you. It means that alam namin at any moment you can ask information to us. So mag-iisip kami. For example, before po may nagtanong sa aming mga travels. So naka-concern po ako as a government officer. Wow, Filipinos are really very they want to find out kung saan napupunta yung pera nila if I'm going to New York or Europe. So the next year I'm more careful. Whenever there is a travel, I have to be more circumspect before I make a decision. So that's how the dynamic of FOI should work in government. It works as a check and balance system. Makes us work better po because we know that at any moment you can question me and I have to answer you.
Yun yung pinakamaganda doon sa lahat ng sinabi mo, Asek, no? Hetong check and balance. In short, it's actually about transparency.
Yes.
About being accountable for the resources that are at your disposal in the government sector. Because at the end of the day, taxpayers' money nga naman yun.
Opo.
Ano? Pero what are the challenges that you are faced with the FOI?
Of course, there's still a culture of secrecy in a lot of government offices. They're afraid that the information will be used for harassment, will be used against a person. So, yun po yung kailangan talagang balansehin po natin.
Kasi minsan, pwede din naman yan maging subject to abuse by a citizen, ano?
That's correct.
So, dapat kailangan balanse lang. Yun yung kaya natin ini-educate yung mga viewers natin.
That's
kung hanggang saan at ano lang ang pwede nilang gawin.
Bawal po ang mga pilosopong tanong kasi meron pong tanong ang UP Diliman. May nagtanong po sa kanila, ilan pong butil ng dahon ang meron sa sunken garden.
Oh.
Minsan din po may mga estudyante po, yung research nila, dissertation or thesis, nililipat po nila dun sa ahensya. So, ang dami pong problema po ng mga PSA. So, we try to balance things out, no?
So, lahat yan will actually, in time, with refinement, so to speak, and with people more aware of what they need to do and how to be responsible about it.
Apa.
I think responsibility is two ways, di ba, Asek?
That is correct po, Doc.
Tayo, kami mga the citizens,
Apa.
and kayo din na
Apa.
nasa ahensya.
Apa.
So, Asek, thank you so much for your time. Ano po ang gusto niyo iparating sa mga tagapagpanood natin?
Thank you very much for accommodating po us here in Dynamic Living in Hope Channel po, Doc. And we'd like to say that FOI is for transparency but more than that. FOI po is for knowledge. You can get information from our government offices. FOI is for innovation. Our software developers can develop apps with maps and data sets from a lot of government offices. And FOI po is for empowerment. A lot of government has a lot of programs and projects that will benefit a lot of our Filipino citizens. So gamitin po nila yung FOI.
Okay.
Log on lang po sa foi.gov.ph. Maraming salamat po.
Okay, so heto po mga tagapagpanood at tagasunod, no? Tagasunod ng Dynamic Living, even over the radio. And you see us also in YouTube and in Facebook, no? Heto po ang tandaan po natin. Information, balancing it with our rights to information, including our freedom and the rights that we have. If you really think about it, it is intertwined. And what we are trying to do with the FOI is actually for transparency, accountability, and at the end of the day, for us to be better able to work with our government agencies and the people that we have placed in power to work for us. Sabi nga po dito sa Esther 9:32, Queen Esther's decree confirmed these regulations and it was written down in the records. Magandang araw po sa ating lahat.
Dynamic living, making the best of you on fire. Dynamic living, sharing the faith, we're giving the love and bringing the total you.
On a positive. Pag sinabi ba natin
If you have been blessed by this program, share hope and help us continue to bring hope everywhere. Send your donations to South Philippine Union Conference through any of the bank details shown here. Hope Channel, sharing love, changing lives.